So welcome back to the class on power semiconductor drives. This is the second lecture in a power semiconductor drives. In this class, we are going to discuss about the block diagram of semiconductor drives. So block diagram means it is a schematic diagram in which how the components of a power semiconductor drives are connected. That we are going to see here. Initially, we have a source. There are two types of sources are practically available. One is the DC source, another one is the AC source. The output of source is connected to power modular. The power modular is nothing but a power converter. Along with the power converter, it has some auxiliary circuits are there so that it can able to protect the source as well as a motor. When the circuit is protecting the motor means during the transient operation. Nothing but the starting of motor, reversing of the motor, and speed control of the motor also. It has a some auxiliary circuit so that it limits the current passing through the motor the same manner. It also limits the current taken from the source so that the voltage drop in the source will be neglected. Now the output of the motor is connected to the load. In a power semiconductor drive, now we have to control effectively this motor so that we are measuring the current of the motor as well as how much speed it is rotating by means of a sensing unit. The sensing unit is nothing but it may be the current sensor or it may be the voltage sensor or it may be the speed sensor. So depending on the sensor what you are using here, it will take the reading of that particular quantity and giving a signal to the control unit. The one more input to the control unit is the input signal. Nothing but in which mode we have to operate this motor. So based upon the control unit, there are two signals are going to the control unit. One is the input signal, another one is the signal which is coming from the sensing unit. Based upon these two, it will giving a command to the power modular so that where the speed of the motor has to run as well as in which mode it has to operate. Along with this, it also giving a the control unit also giving command to the protecting of the motor as well as the source. This is the block diagram of the power semiconductor drive. Now we are going to see individually each component. So it is the one which can give the electrical power to the motor. But here we have taken the drive as a motor. So there are two types of source are there. One is DC source, another one is the AC source. The second one is the power modular. Power modular is nothing but it is a circuit which can perform the four functions. One is the flow of power from the source to the motor depending upon the speed torque characteristics of a load. So load is connected to the motor based upon the speed torque characteristics. It can able to control how much power is given to the motor through the power module that should be controlled by the power module. During the transient period, at the time of starting and braking and operation and speed reversals, it restricts the source and motor within the permissible. In transient period, the motor will be taking a more amount of current. If you allow that much of current to the motor as well as supply, it will going to damage the motor as well as the supply. In case of supply, what happened means if you take the more amount of current, there is a large amount of voltage will be dropped in the transmission line, so the voltage available motor will be decreases. The main important thing is the power module consisting a converter which can able to convert the power required to the motor. Suppose if the motor is a DC motor, the available power is the AC, then the converter becomes a rectifier. The motor is a DC motor, if the available power is DC, then you have to go for the chopper circuit. Suppose if the motor is induction motor, the available power is a DC motor, then we have to use that converter as a inverter. And also, it also select the mode of operation of the motor. What is the meaning of mode of operation? Means whether the motor has to operate in motoring mode or braking mode or reverse motoring mode or braking in a reverse mode. Next, control unit. This control unit is controlling the power modular. It is a low power circuit. It operates the converter. It also generates a command protect the motor as well as a converter. The input signal, the input signal to the control signal is generating the command such a way that in which mode the motor has to operate. Next, sensing unit. Already we have discussed about the sensing unit. It is used to sense the driver parameters such as a current, speed, voltage to achieve the desired performance, also get the closed loop performance. This is the current sensor. This is the speed sensor. Now we are going to see the power converters. Already we have discussed about the power converters in power electronics. The first one is the uncontrolled rectifier circuit. Uncontrolled rectifier circuit is nothing but it is a circuit which is made of the diode. It will be converting the fixed AC voltage to the fixed DC voltage. That's controlled rectifier circuit. Control rectifier circuit, nothing but a phase control rectifier circuit. The rectifier circuit is made up of with the SCR so that the output voltage will be controlled for given AC voltage. So for this circuit, the AC voltage is given the variable DC voltage we are getting because the circuit is made of the thyristor based rectifier. Third one is the inverter. Suppose input voltage is DC, nothing but a motor requires a AC supply, then we have to go for the inverter circuit. It is the power electronic circuit which converts the fixed DC voltage to the variable AC voltage, in which we can vary the voltage as well as the frequency. DC to DC converter. Suppose if the available supply is the DC supply, the motor is the DC motor, then it requires a variable DC voltage to control the speed of a motor. Then you have to go for the DC to DC converter. AC voltage regulator. If the load motor is the induction motor, the supply is the AC supply. Suppose if we want to go for the speed control by means of a voltage, stator voltage, then you have to go for the AC voltage regulator. The AC voltage regulator is a power electronic circuit which converts the fixed AC voltage to the variable AC voltage, but the frequency is constant. That you have to keep in mind. The cyclone converter, it is also power electronic circuit which converts the fixed AC voltage to the variable AC voltage, where we can able to control both frequency as well as the voltage. These are the different converters what we are using in a power semiconductor drives. But depending on the motor and supply, how to select these converters. Motors. Already we know that different types of motors are available in commercially. But here, the motors are broadly classified into three types. One is the DC motor, another one is the asynchronous motor, and a synchronous motor. Already we have seen the construction and operation of DC motor. Asynchronous motor is nothing but under the asynchronous motor, the induction motors, all induction motors are coming under the asynchronous motor. The meaning of asynchronous motor is nothing but the speed of a rotor of a motor is not a synchronous. That is happening in case of a induction motor. Synchronous motor is nothing but the speed of a motor is constant. It is equal to the synchronous speed, where synchronous speed is depending upon the ns equal to 120 f by p. Nothing but the frequency supply, where it is also depending upon the number of poles for which the motor is designed. This is the synchronous motor. I'm going to summarize this class. First, we have seen the block diagram of a power semiconductor drive. Next, we have seen what is the function of each component. Power modular unit. In a power modular unit, converter is there. Those converters are nothing but electronics converters. Those are different types of power electronic converters. Those converters we have to select based upon the what type of motor we are using, and what is the supply is available. Next, we have seen what are the different types of the motors. One is the DC motor, another one is the asynchronous motor and synchronous motor. Thank you very much. If you have any doubt, you can ask in the comment box of my YouTube channel so that I can available to answer your all questions. Thank you.